This is Pod Populi, podcast for the people.
I'm running on nothing but faith. There's things far too great that I want to accomplish. I'm hoping 25 hours a day, but something good works out, and I'm just like, dang. Think everything's gonna be okay. Yeah, I'm like, dang. Think you might just know the way. I'm like, dang.
Welcome to Dang.
Dang. What am I doing here? Just kidding.
Well, it's not every day that you get somebody who has been to prison and is willing to talk about it. So lucky for us, we've
Prison?
got Todd here.
No. Yeah.
He's going to answer all our questions about what prison life is like and some of the things like that.
The food is delicious.
Really?
Well, the food's better than county jail, that's for sure. County jail,
Really?
County jail is you get fake food.
Well, so last week we talked about kind of the road to prison, how Todd ended up getting these stories to tell us. So if you are curious about that, go back and listen to last week's episode. But today we're going to dive into some questions that people have sent in and also ones that I have and that we've just gathered. Are you ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Actually, we were going to ask you about the food. So
The
let's
food?
talk about the food.
Well, okay, when you're in county jail, they had a thing called crap on the shingles,
what?
which is like, you have to like, it's like some kind of potatoes, and it has sprinkles of meat in there, but you don't know if it's meat or not.
Like what kind of meat? It's mystery
when you're in
meat?
county jail, yeah, it's a mystery meat. And they also have a Wisha sandwich. Like they have a wish it was a real piece of meat, because whatever it is not a real piece of meat.
So you guys called it a Wisha sandwich.
Yeah, because we wish we had a real piece of meat. And then they had this juice that they used to give us to drink. And I remember reading the back of it because I was also, when you're on the runway, they call it the freeway. When you're on the freeway, you can take a shower, you can watch TV, change TV for everybody.
What do you mean when you're on the runway, the freeway? What is that?
Okay, when you're in county jail, first we got to talk about county before I went to Chino. I was at county, and
So LA County Jail.
yeah. So, when I first went there, they put me in this place that I wasn't supposed to be. I was supposed to be upstairs in a high power place. And so I have to tell you this story. It's the funniest, it's the craziest story. So the psychiatrist came and see me, and he goes, okay, you're not supposed to be down here. You're supposed to be upstairs. He goes, I don't know what these officers are doing, but you're supposed to be upstairs. That we already had the room for you upstairs. I go, okay.
What was the difference between where you were and upstairs?
Where I was is single cells, but they're connected by bars. You can still reach over and talk to somebody or touch somebody.
Okay.
And when I was in
upstairs, it was like
upstairs, it's sections off, but it's hard doors and just solid rooms.
Okay.
But when I was down there, I was in jail with Ford. When I was down at the bottom, I was in there with Ford and Von Velis. And then for people who want to know who they were the officers for hire to kill people. They were in there. They were there too, down there with me. Ford and Von Velis. You can look it up and see who Ford and Von Velis were. I'm sure they got sentenced to a ton of years because they were like hitmen on a police department.
wow.
Yeah. So he told me
They were like the guys on either side of you.
yeah. So
Okay.
So the psychiatrist told me, he goes, well, the only way I'm going to be able to get you up there, you have to tell them you want to kill yourself. I go, really? He goes, yeah, just tell me you want to kill yourself. So I didn't know. Well, he didn't give me the whole story of what was going to happen when I said that.
Okay.
So I said, I want to kill myself. They said, what? I go, I want to kill myself. They said, hold on. And then I heard, doom, 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 doom. And all of a sudden, I see 5 guys coming at me in riot gear, and they tackle me, they handcuff me, and they take me upstairs, and they strap me in 4 points in a psychiatric room upstairs. I'm in 4 points. I'm like, oh my gosh. And so the psychiatrist came in. I go, why didn't you tell me this was going to happen? He goes, if I told you that was going to happen, would you have done it? I was like, no.
How long did it take? How long were you stuck there?
I was only stuck there for a day, but
a whole day.
Yeah.
In 4 points
a
before
whole
the
day.
psychiatrist came back.
Yeah, but I was like, oh my gosh,
Were you just sitting there going, give me the psychiatrist?
No, I was just kidding. No, I didn't want to say anything. I was trying to figure out what to do. I didn't want to say any more things after that because I didn't know what was going to happen next. But what's interesting, though, while I was there, this place had some real cuckoos in it. Let me tell you. I remember I was sitting on the chair and with these other people that were considered, I guess, same like me, loony at the time. And they were like, one guy was like, hey, he's smoking a cigarette. He goes, they're coming. I'm like, He goes, they're coming. I'm like, who's coming? He's like, they're here. I'm like, oh my God, this is a crazy place. I'm like, I don't even belong here.
So why did the doctor think you'd be better off if you went upstairs with all the crazy? Because you'd be safer?
You know, because finally when I got to my room, it was a lot better.
Oh.
It was in a safer environment, you know.
Okay.
It wasn't with it was with the true killers also. Because when I got up there, there was Eric and Lau Menendez, and also the Night Stalker was there, who Richard Ramirez, who killed people in Los Angeles, who's a serial killer. But now, what's interesting, I will tell you this: if people ever remember the trial of Eric and Lau Menendez, there was a time where the trial got delayed for 2 months, and what happened was me and Eric, we decided to hold our doors because they would check our doors to see if they were like locked. And we'd hold it with a towel, and they thought it was locked. So me and Eric decided to have a water fight on the freeway with each other. We're throwing water at each other.
Okay, so still the freeway. What
freeway
is that?
the freeway is right outside your cells. It's like a couple of 100 feet, and you have a TV in the center. And the person who's on the freeway at the time, you get like an hour on the freeway, has to change the TV for people.
Okay, so like you each get a turn being out there alone, basically.
Yes, you're supposed to be there alone.
Okay.
Never, like, that wasn't supposed to happen. Me and Eric
Is there like a couch out there?
No, none of that. You just,
Is there like a bench?
It's a chair. It's a chair
There's
you can
like
use
a chair
yes.
and a
that's
TV.
It. Yeah, and the person changes the TV for people so that we can watch what we want to watch.
Are people spiteful and be like, no, I'm not going to change the TV for you?
No one does that because then no one wants it done to you.
Yeah,
so...
right.
So they
do people take a vote on what we're gonna watch?
Yeah, everybody votes, of course. It's still like it's like government. You're gonna decide what you want to watch, and everybody's take a vote.
Okay.
And whoever the more people that vote for it win.
And it wasn't like I'm the guy out here. I get to pick what we're watching.
It was never like that. So So ultimately, me and Eric were playing, and I was throwing water. We're throwing water at each other, and he came towards me, and I bumped him. He went back and he hit his kidney on the door. The door had a flap on it. It was a metal flap. And he started peeing blood. So
like right away as soon as he hit it?
Yeah, he hit it and he went down. Then he went to the bathroom. He goes, I'm peeing blood. So they came in, got him out of there. And then they said, what happened? What happened? And then they told me, we're going to charge you with such and such, all these new crimes, right? They tried to charge me with. And so Johnny Cochran got involved and he says, well, if you do that, I'm going to tell them that you let Eric Menendez and Todd Bridges play together. And they were like, okay, we'll let everything go. Real fast. They didn't want that to get out there.
That actually doesn't sound very good saying they let you play together.
Well, that's why he was going to say that. They let us play, play together. It doesn't matter what that sounds. They didn't want that They did not want that happening. We're not supposed to make contact with anybody.
So were the Menendez brothers nice?
Menendez brothers, yeah, they were nice, but they were, to me, I was the only one in there that I knew I was getting out, and I knew the rest of them were not going to get out. And I remember them telling me, you'll be back. And I was like, never be back. And here's what happened. So let me tell you this. So I get out. And what happens? I get in trouble again a couple of months later. And I'm right back there. And they're all laughing at me.
Right back in LA County.
And I'm like, oh, gosh, this is terrible. They're all laughing at me, but I was like, I'm going to have to decide to make a change. So when I got out of there, I went directly into rehab. But wait, before we get to prison, I got to tell you what happened.
No, but I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
So those guys that were still in LA County when you came back,
how
come they were there for so long? How much they were sent out?
Sometimes it takes 3 to 4 years before you can get to your trial.
Oh, and they keep you in county
you stay in county until your trial is done. You're either convicted and you go off to prison, or you're not.
Oh, so that's why they were still there. Okay.
And so was Richard Ramirez was still there. And I have a story about Richard Ramirez also. Okay, we used to all talk about, there was a way out of there. We knew where it was. It was a closet that was there. And
that they could escape?
Yes. Oh. And there was a closet there. And if you got in the closet, because we can open the closet, but it was never locked. And you went through the little attic part and you went to the elevator, but you had to make sure there was no police officer using the restroom at the time, because if someone was using the restroom at the time, they can hear you going over. Oh. And so when Richard Ramirez got convicted, they came in and they slammed our flaps, and Richard was going back to his cell. And
what do you mean swung their flaps? What's that?
The flaps are the flaps on the door. There's a door that a metal flap comes out.
Oh, where they put things
where you can talk through there too, and they leave it down so people can see. So all you see was a bunch of eyes being able to look out of the flaps. That's all you really would see.
So you guys would play with these flaps as a way of communicating, kind of?
Well, no, you wouldn't play with the flaps. You just talk each other through the flaps.
But you said they were all swinging their flaps. What does that mean?
No, you're not. I didn't say they were swinging the flaps. They swung to close the flaps. They closed the flaps. They closed the flaps.
The
on
guards
everybody.
did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then Richard Ramirez comes in, and we knew he had got convicted because we watched it on TV.
Right.
We're like, oh man, this guy's going to get the gas chamber.
Yeah.
And so we see him. We're going around, and all of a sudden he opens the door up, and we're going, oh no, he's going to try it. He goes up, starts going into it, and all of a sudden, I guess he didn't realize there was a police officer going to the bathroom. And the police officer runs in and grabs his foot and pulls him down, and they finally get him, and they go, who knew about this? We're like, we didn't know anything. I don't know. I didn't even know that it was even there. Everybody's playing dumb. I didn't know anything.
How did they know? Is this just like prison lore that's been passed around to prisoners?
No, we knew because we had looked in there, but no one wanted to cross over it. None of us wanted to go over it. We just knew that went to the elevator because you can go up and you can see the elevator about 20 yards away.
What made you guys think to look in there?
Because you're curious. You're in prison. What else? You're in county. What else you gonna do?
There's a door here. Like, let's look and see what's inside.
What else you gonna do? You're there,
and so you all looked up and then talked amongst yourselves, saying, "Hey, I bet this would work."
And everyone, when they got their freeway time,
Aren't
they would look through it.
recording you guys in there?
No, there's no cameras in that part. No.
Oh.
Mm-mm. Now, and also there weren't cameras inside the visiting room. The first day that I was in the visiting room. First day that I was in there.
Is that where you can receive visitors?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was getting a visitor. Before I was sitting there with a bunch of other inmates, and what happened was this guy unlocked himself. They knew how to do that too. Unlocked his things.
Pick your locks.
Yeah. He goes over to the guy next to me and stabs the guy a bunch of times. And I'm watching this, and I'm like totally freaked out. I'm like, oh my gosh. I didn't know what to do. So they come in and go, what happened? I'm like, I have no idea. I didn't say anything. They go, well, you're sitting right next to us. I said, man, I was sleeping. So I have no idea. And they shut down all the visits and sent us all back.
Okay, so what was he using to pick his locks?
They're in a box. They had these copper box things that close to help seal the box. He took that out, and you twist it a certain way, and then you can unlock your key. So, and you had to be there for a while before they teach you how to do that because they didn't want anybody getting caught and then figuring it out. So, I mean, I eventually figured out how to do it too, but I just didn't want to do it because you don't want to catch any other kind of case. So
yeah,
and
you don't want another charge brought against you.
No.
But these were things that people within prison kind of had figured out, and if you get a friend, they might tell you.
You learn how to be. This is the sad part about county or even prison. You learn how to be a better criminal if you want to be a criminal.
It's almost like going to school.
Yeah, because everyone's a criminal, so you learn how to be a better criminal. I can't say everyone in there is a criminal. Some people probably are innocent, but there's a lot of people who aren't innocent.
That was actually one of the questions I had here was how do you make friends, or do you even want to?
You make friends, but you can't trust people in there. You have to be very careful, and you have to be very careful of what you say. That's why I talk about respect all the time. It's all about respect. You have to respect each other. So I got out of there. I went into rehab, right? I went into rehab. And I went back to court, and the judge was like, okay, well, when you're done with the rehab, you're going to have to do a 90-day observation in Chino. So he said, I'm going to send you somewhere. I want to show you what it's like. If you continue doing what you're doing, you're going to end up in prison. You're going to be in that place for a long time. So
he sentenced you to 3 months.
Yeah, but I didn't have to go yet. Got out, and I finished all my stuff, but I had a certain day I had to turn myself in to be taken to Chino. And I remember when my mom was driving that day, and she took me to a pancake breakfast and took me to county jail. And how they get you at night is so crazy. It's like you're in there sleeping, all of a sudden you hear, chain.
Okay, so to turn you into Chino, she took you and had to take you to county jail.
County jail first,
okay.
Yes. And then I was in county, and then that night I was sleeping, and I heard chain. And they get up and they say, Bridges, state your number. You give your number, and they bring you out, and they chain you all up, and they put you on a bus. And then they ship you out. They ship me out to Chino. And I remember when I was going through the Chino gates, as I got out the bus, it's just like in the movies where everyone's yelling at you. They're like, Willis, we see you. Don't call me Willis. We're going to get you, Willis. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to fight right away. Because, I wasn't going to not fight. You have to fight to defend yourself. Otherwise, you're going to be pushed around the whole time. And I go, I'm going to have to fight right away. And all of a sudden, this is how I know God was involved in my life the whole time that I was there. I get off the bus, and this big black dude comes up and like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to fight. And he looks around, he goes, I told everybody my last name is Bridges. I told everyone that I'm your brother, so just go along with me and I'll protect you throughout this thing and I'll get you the best job. I was like, oh man, Mom, miss you, man. So,
what a blessing. Oh my gosh, like that is terrifying. I was feeling so sick as I'm here. Like, How was your mom? Was she like in tears?
Yeah, but I signed a thing to where I didn't let anybody come and visit me when I was in Chino.
Oh, really?
Because it's the toughest part is having someone come visit you and then they leave and they're leaving and you can't leave. That's the toughest part. The only way that you can get through it is taking into your mind that you're going to be here for the rest of your life. That's the only way you can get through it. You can't have aspirations and dreams of leaving because it does not happen.
It's just
like
torture.
Yes, it tortures
Did your mom know you weren't going to let him come see?
No,
Did you
no
tell
one
her?
knew it. I didn't tell anybody. So I just blocked everyone from coming to see me.
So she dropped you off. I'm sure she was upset.
Yeah, she called and tried to get a visit. He goes, he has no authorization on visits. So being in there, so I got a really good job.
What was your job?
Well, before I talk about my job first, when they first brought me in, they put me in this cage that's about 7 feet high, and it's not that wide, and they handcuffed me my back, and they left me in that thing for 8 hours.
And it's just an open cage,
yeah,
so people can...
But then also, I forgot about this part. When I first got there, you walk up, you got to get your clothes, right?
Okay,
And the guy says, well. But this guy had a cockeyed eye. It was a black guy. He goes, well. Bridges smoked his ass all the way to prison. That's what he said. I'm like,
is this a guard?
Yeah. I'm like, great, wonderful. I'm like, great. And then they put me in that cage and they left me in that cage for 8 hours. They were just messing with me.
So when you get changed, like what are you wearing when you go to prison?
When you go,
like a county.
Well, you're wearing.
Jumpsuit?
I was wearing my county jumpsuit, but then you take off. They give you prison clothes. It's like a t-shirt and some other kind of pants.
Do they search you?
Oh, of course they do. They make you open your butt and cough. You got
really?
Yeah, you got to do all that stuff.
Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah, and it's like you're standing in line with a bunch of naked. Everybody's naked standing in line. So you just stand in line. And some people don't shower, so it's like.
And it's just men, right?
They don't mix men and women together. No way.
No.
Just men. And the other part too, which is interesting, is the job that I got. I was in inmate shipping and receiving, and there's an unwritten rule that if a child molester comes through, you have to give the signal and pass the signal down the line because as soon as he hits the yard, he's going to get stomped for about 45 minutes. That's just what happens. Ooh. Nobody likes child molesters in there. No one likes those.
So shipping and receiving, you're not talking about packages, you're talking about people.
People,
like
yeah.
the people
shipping
coming
people coming in.
Oh,
and
wow.
then receiving people coming in and shipping them out to other places. So I worked in that department. So I got the best shoes, I had the best clothes, and to make money because I had no one coming up, I used to sell pins. And because I get pins from there, and you also sell
pins you write with.
Yeah. And you also sell things that can be made into shanks. Yeah,
like toothbrushes. I've heard.
Not toothbrushes, mainly.
What?
We used to get to broom closets. We had metal shards and all that kind of stuff you can get out of there, and you sell those to people, and that's how you make money.
So you would just collect things as you're going throughout your day that that had value.
Yes, that had value. And so being protected by this guy, which was cool. And then this guy who was I don't know which gang he was in, but it was a Spanish guy in a big gang, and I don't remember which gang he was in. And we had an argument, and he ended up liking me. He says, "Man, and he ended up protecting me too." So I was the only person of my color that can go and talk to everybody.
You could talk to
the white guys, but if a fight happened, you have to drop to your color. That's just how it is. You have no choice in the matter. If you don't, then your people will give you up, and you don't want that to happen. So you have to take care of it. So the first day on the yard, first day on the yard, these two guys start fighting over a pencil, right? And I hear the siren go, and I'm like, what is that? I'm looking around, and all of a sudden the guy grabs and says, "Get down!" And I get down, and as I get down, I hear a bullet whiz by me. Wham! Hits one of the guys in the leg. They just, because there's no warning shots like that, they just start fighting. What
kind of bullets? Were those like the rubbery bullets?
No, a real bullet. Yeah, the guy was bleeding when they shot him. So it was a real bullet.
So the guards are like up on the walls?
Yeah.
And if a fight breaks out, they'll just shoot somebody.
Yeah, these guys were considered dangerous, so they just shot him.
They won't go down there and try to break it up. They'll just be like,
they shot him.
Which one are we going to shoot?
But that's why they pull you to the ground, because they don't want you to be involved. My friend pulled me to the ground. He didn't want me to get shot.
He didn't want you to get in the crossfire?
No.
Was this the big guy that was your brother?
No, this was just somebody else.
Another.
Because I had to sign a waiver to go onto the yard. When I first got in there, they had me in maximum isolation. But I signed a waiver to go on the yard so that prison's not liable for me getting hurt or that. But I was like, I had a street reputation going in, so I was fine. I knew I'd be okay.
So is everybody have to sign a waiver to go on the yard? But that was because of who you were?
Cases, high-profile cases would have to. I could have been in isolation 23 hours a day, and I already did that at county, and I was done with that. I didn't want to be in isolation. I'd rather be out and get fresh air and play basketball and do stuff like that, So that. So now, when I first got my first experience with food in the county jail, it was, in the prison, it was wonderful. It's real food, real eggs, real chicken, real stuff.
Chino's better than county.
Oh yeah, that food was terrible,
Okay.
So yeah, and then you also had an opportunity to go to the thing and buy food too. You could buy stuff, and I had enough money from what I made from selling things that I could buy stuff. Some people were artists in there, and they needed different colored pens and that kind of stuff to keep the continue. So you would sell those kind of things.
So in Chino, it's more like cafeteria level, like school
not more
cafeteria.
like cafeteria.
It was
It's kind of, I guess you could say yes, kind of like cafeteria, but you only have 5 minutes to eat.
Oh,
That's the other thing. When you get your food, you literally sit down. You have 5 minutes to eat. That's why I eat really fast.
they're
still.
timing you.
Yeah, well, 5 minutes, and you got to get up. They got to get the next people in. So if you don't finish your food, they come and throw it away.
How big of a groups are people eating in?
I was eating a group of 20. You come in, you eat, and you get. That's why. And then also people cover their food. I used to eat like that for a while.
You got to put your arm around your food.
So they wouldn't mess with your food. So they know that you're gonna get them. They try to take your food. So you're sitting there eating. And so one time, the first time I got there, I didn't eat within 5 minutes. I didn't know. I'm just taking my time eating, enjoying my food, and all of a sudden they come and go, get up. They took them and they just threw it away. I'm like, hey, it's my food. And they're like, you had 5 minutes. You didn't do it. Too bad.
That's too bad because I gotta believe that prison is pretty boring.
No, well, there's stuff to do in there more than people realize.
Is there?
Yeah.
Because I was like, man, and you don't even have spend time enjoying your food.
But you have a job. You work. That's anything's better than being stuck somewhere. Full time.
Just sitting.
Yeah. So
when you're in isolation, when you were in that 23, was there a job? You were just.
You're just stuck in there. Nothing you can do.
How did you pass the time?
Well, I read a lot.
In county?
Yeah, and because I was sober, at the time, I wasn't sober when I was in county, until I went back the second time. Then I was sober for 6 months. But the first times in there, basically I was detoxing the entire time, so. But when I went,
sleeping a lot.
When I went the last time, I was just, studying a lot, studying the, word, reading the Bible. Read the Bible a few times, when I was in there.
How would you get books? Was there like a library?
Yeah, they had books. The guy would bring books if you wanted a book, or somebody could send you a book and they just check it, make sure there's no drugs, nothing in it. But yeah, so that's the interesting part about it is it's just learning how to survive. But like I said, you have to get into your mindset that you're never leaving.
So
because
Chino,
for 6 months,
yeah.
I was like, I'm leaving, and that's not a good. That's not a good feeling.
When you say 6 months, and I'm like that mindset, are you talking about when you were in county?
When I was in county for 6 months.
How much time?
I was in there 9 months because my trial took 9 months before they can have it. Do my trial.
Oh, okay.
And then when I went to Chino, it was supposed to be a 90-day observation, but I ended up in there for like 6 or 7 months because they couldn't get time on the board to get me back to court. But the judge, it was a good thing the judge did that. But here's another reason how God just was always in my life and always there for me. So inside, the prosecutors are always asking prison, right? That's what they always want. And they usually go by what the psychiatrist says. And I go see the psychiatrist, and he goes, you don't remember me, do you? And I go, no. He goes, when you were about 15, he goes, you were at the mall. He said, Northridge Mall. He goes, and you met my son. You signed an autograph with him. You talked with him. He goes, and I saw you for who you really were. You're a good person. You don't belong in here. He goes, I'm not going to write anything that's going to have you keep here. I want you to go home and enjoy your life and stay out of trouble. And so that's how, look at that. I meet a kid because I'm nice to people. I didn't know that was going to take place. And the father was there. I met the father, and I took pictures and talked with him and told the kid, about staying out of trouble, and, that's when I wasn't in trouble, So that worked out in my advantage.
So he'd seen you. He'd seen
how
you
who
were.
I was, yeah.
Yeah.
And I also truly believe that we are a victim of our circumstances. It was the fact that I got molested. It's the fact that I had police constantly harass me. My father was an alcoholic. That puts you in situations to where you don't care about your life anymore, and you put yourself in dangerous situations, or bad situations, because you're not thinking about it.
You came there and you got schooled by all these criminals. You're like, dude, I don't want to be a criminal.
Yeah, well, everybody else that was in there, they were like, when I get out of here, I'm going to pull this lick. That means a job somewhere. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And I was like, when I get out of here, man, I'm staying out of trouble. I said, I'm going to buy me a case of Act Right. That's what you tell people, buy a case of Act Right. Which means that anytime you think about doing something stupid, you drink a soda that says Act Right, and you'll be okay. You're going to act right.
Yeah.
So what other questions did you have, too?
Okay, so there's that TV show 90 Days In.
Yeah.
Is that seem pretty?
That's very
have you watched
accurate
it?
to what it is. Yeah, I watched 90 Days. It's very accurate. It's like some of those prison shows I don't even like to watch because it just makes me nervous. It's like I don't like to be confined. You notice that? I don't like to be confined.
Yeah.
If I'm confined, I feel like I'm trapped. And in jail, you're confined. You know.
I definitely think there's things that are just going to stick with you. Okay, so here's one. Are there unspoken rules or codes of conduct you had to figure out fast?
Oh yeah. Okay, like when I was going to the bathroom, there is 8 toilets on one side, 8 toilets on the side in front of you, and then like that. So a total of like probably 36 toilets, all different places, but all in front. Drop one, flush one. Which means that if it stinks, you can get shanked behind that. And I didn't know, so I'm in there going to the bathroom, my own business, and dude says, drop one, flush one, or you gonna get shanked. I was like, who's talking to?
Are you in stalls?
No, there's no stalls. There's no closets.
It's just out in the open.
Toilets lined up.
Oh, gosh.
8 toilets on one side, 8 toilets on the other side, 8 toilets in front of you, 8 toilets behind you.
Oh, gosh.
So, and you drop one, you got to flush it right away. So it's drop it, flush. Drop it, flush.
You don't want to do anything to draw attention to you.
No,
like
but I didn't.
smell.
But I didn't. Yeah, but I didn't know. I didn't know. I was just doing there, and I was like, drop one, you better flush with fool. I'm gonna shank you. I was like, okay, flush. After that, because I didn't know.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts, but that's what happens. But also, the rules are you respect everyone, and you don't talk about other people's cases. You don't do that either.
If they bring it up, then you can talk.
You don't talk about your case either because chances he could be a snitch. You don't know that. He could be working with, your prosecutor.
Well, how do you have these opinions?
You don't talk about anything.
About like the Night Stalker. I mean, did you guys talk about stuff?
But that's in county. Yes, but we never talked about our cases.
Okay.
We just talked about stuff. That's why I lock all the doors, was because Richard Ramirez told me, the Night Stalker, asked him, I said, when you broke in, how'd you break into the houses? And he goes, I didn't break in. I walked through an open door or open window. And I was like, okay, now that I know that, I'm going to lock everything all the time. That's why I lock everything. That's why I'm super serious on security, because it's people that don't pay attention that get caught in stupid situations.
All right, be honest. What is the shower situation really like? Because that's something you...
No, it's nothing. You just go take a shower. The only time somebody's going to do something like that to you is if they can punk you. But if you defend yourself, no one's going to do something like that to you because they know
you don't have to be like, don't worry, don't drop the soap or anything like that.
Nah, but you ain't going to bend it over in front of nobody either. You ain't doing that. That ain't the smart thing to do.
So is it just like a locker room situation with like a pole with all the...
No, yeah, it's like a giant, shower everywhere. But, you take your shower and you get out of there. But the thing about it is they have to know you're not going to tolerate something like that. Like, if someone had done it to me, I'd have stabbed him. He would have got stabbed. I'd have just been in prison for the rest of my life.
Did you have a what do they
of
call
course. You always...
Shiv? What do they call
shank, yeah.
Shank. Did
of course
you
I
have
one?
one?
Yeah.
How'd you make yours? What was
I
it
made mine
out
out of metal. Same thing, because I got all the good supplies.
So, okay, how did you make the metal sharp? What would you do?
Well, the metal, you sharpen it on the ground, on the cement. You sharpen when the guards aren't looking, and you sharpen it. Keep sharpening until it gets sharp.
One of the things you do with your time.
Well, yeah, but you do things you're gonna have to defend yourself because if something happens.
Would you sell shanks or would you sell the pieces?
I sell the pieces, and they had to make their own shanks.
Yeah.
I sold pins that worked, and paper that worked, and pencils.
Would you guys talk about like the better way to get like a nice sharp edge?
No, you never talked about that. That was all done.
You just figure it out yourself.
Because the biggest, like I told you, the biggest thing you were concerned with is like somebody working with the guards or working with your prosecutor, giving information on you. Because they'll lie and say, he told me he did everything. That's, it happens a lot, in there. So
you just keep yourself.
Yeah, and the thing about it is you don't want to be labeled as a snitch. Because you get labeled as a snitch, they will kill you in there.
Yeah.
They will, that or a child molester, either one, so.
Okay, so that was another one of the questions that I think we already touched was what happens if there's a fight? Do people actually settle things that way?
Yeah. It's settled by fighting. You settle it. And
then the guards stand on the wall and shoot, evidently.
Yeah, that's for that situation. But in county, though, they just break up the fight. Okay. But then if it's a dangerous situation where the guy's going to kill the other guy was going to stab the other guy in the neck, I think that's why he got shot. He's going to kill him, and they didn't want that to happen, so they shot the guy and put him down so that they can go get him.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then they also had a line when you're on the yard that says, do not pass this line. There is no warning shot, it said.
Wow.
So you pass that line, they just shoot you. There's no warning
if you're
shot.
Trying to escape kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So
no, it's nothing to do with escaping, just getting across that line. They don't care what you were doing.
What line? What was it over?
Okay, like there's the fence. Okay. And then 10 feet back, there's a line that says, if you.
So you weren't even allowed near the fence.
No, and it's
so if you cross. Okay, the line was on this side of the fence, and it's like you don't go past that.
You go past that.
Because you even touched
They said, warning, they said there is no warning shot, which means that you pass that, they're going to shoot you. So
Yeah. So that's how they don't even worry about climbing the fence because you're not even going to get near it.
Exactly.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. So what do you think was the toughest part about being in prison?
Isolation is the toughest part about being in prison. But because you can't trust anybody in there, you know, you're basically isolated. You have to keep to yourself. You have to keep your mind busy enough to where you don't go completely crazy. Like when I was in there, I had made up I was a good voice actor, and I had made up like 20 different voices that I could do. I practiced, and all the time, So I just had to, I had to keep myself very well amused because, otherwise you get bored and discontent, and that's when stuff falls in. So
maybe it's lucky you're as creative as you were. Keep yourself busy with the voices.
Keep myself busy with the voices and different things to do. So.
What's one thing about prison life that totally surprised you?
Well, I think in prison life, in most places, I can't say every place, there is no real reform. And I think that's what they need is reform.
Oh, that it was like you were saying, it's like a school to go learn how to be more of a criminal instead of reform.
Teaching people how to be better people, teach people how to be, get rid of the problems they have emotionally. I think it should be much more of that.
You were expecting more of that.
Yeah, there should have been more of that, but there's not.
Interesting. Did you pick up any new skills or hobbies in there?
Well, yeah, you learn how to get a kite, which is a note, from cell 1 all the way down to cell 58.
You're a real clever guy. I bet you didn't you tell me one time you were doing something, you were cooking up something?
Oh, so yeah, what used to happen was, when I was in county, here's how God also was with me. When I was in county, it just so happens that somebody my mom grew up with was the head kitchen lady.
Wow.
So she would send me food through this, the guy on that, what is it called, the guy? I can't think of the guy right now. He's a guy who's out and does sweeping and stuff like that. Yeah.
The janitor.
No, not janitor. No, it's not that. It's something else. He's actually a prisoner, but he's actually allowed to do this. I can't think of the name of it right now. But she would send food through him to give to me, like my plate, and I would get what the guards ate, which was like steak, ribs, and that kind of stuff. But that didn't happen till like 6 months later, when I figured she figured out I was in there. She didn't want me eating the food in there either. So the guards ate really, really well. They ate really, really well. So now I've learned how to make a cooking thing from a toilet paper. You roll it up on your hand to get really tight, and then you turn it over, and it literally will burn for 20 minutes.
So you could like light it on fire. How did you light it?
Well, in there, that's the time you could smoke in there.
Oh, okay. So there were matches.
There were matches and stuff like that, or a lighter. So we had metal chairs. So you clean your metal chair really good, right? Clean your metal chair really good, and then you have a cover on your metal chair. So you can sit on it, but we need to cook on it. You put it underneath, and you cover your vent up so the smell doesn't go out, and you make sure that you have somebody watching for the guards. So you always had to share your food with somebody so they can keep an eye on, make sure the guard's coming. You got to put it out and throw it in the toilet, So, but, I used to reheat the food up and cook some other stuff in there and just, it's always so good.
So it was like, this was the food that was getting sent over to you, and you were wanting to like warm the steak back up.
Yeah. Different chicken or steak, whatever it was, warm it back up. So ribs, they used to get ribs, and I couldn't believe how well the guards ate. I could not believe that,
That's amazing.
In county. But now in Chino, you could do that, but you really didn't need to because the food was decent enough.
It was good.
Yeah.
What about, wasn't there some sort of drink that you learned to make?
Well, you learned to make pruno. You learned to make alcohol in there. Yeah,
Wait, what's it called again?
Pruno. Yeah, it's called pruno. And you don't want to know where it's made at, where it has to sit.
I want to know.
Okay, in county jail, that's when I was still, acting, drinking and stuff like that. You would put it in, you put it in.
Okay, so what is it made out of?
It's made out of vegetables, fruits.
Okay.
Fruit. You put sugar in it, whatever, and you
So you'd bring stuff back from like the cafeteria in your pockets or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
But in jail, it was really tough in prison, it was tough to do. Because I was just trying to bring an orange back one time in there, just to have an orange for myself to eat later. And I was walking back with it, and he goes, "Come here, Bridges, come here." I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Smash!" He smashed in my pants. I was like, "Oh!" He's like, I goes, "Throw it away." I'm like, "Oh!" But he smashed it, ruined my pants. You know what I mean?
Oh, and your orange. Okay, so in county though, you were able to make this
you were able to do that. Yeah, make pruno. Yeah,
pruno.
You put the sugar and all that in, and you take it and you let it sit for a couple of weeks, and it creates alcohol.
Okay, so where was it sitting?
In the toilet.
So what did you use while your toilet was busy doing this?
A plastic bag. Well, you take it out, go to the bathroom, clean it back up, and you drop it back in. It's in a plastic bag and drop it back in to stay cold.
So you had to collect a plastic bag,
Yeah.
a whole bunch of fruits and vegetables,
Yeah.
some sugar.
Not fruits and vegetables, just fruits. not
just
vegetables.
fruits.
Yeah.
Okay. Some sugar.
Yeah. And that made Pruno, made alcohol.
So how long would it take you to gather all this stuff for a batch? And where would you hide it?
Well, it's different because they gave you your food inside your room. They gave you food in there, so it was easy to keep in there.
Okay.
So you got your food inside there. So if you had an orange on there, you just don't eat the orange. Or,
You save it.
You peel it up and put it on there like you ate it, and you put it in a bag. So it's like you
Where'd
ate
you
it.
keep your bag?
I told you kept your bag in the toilet.
So they didn't look in the toilet?
No, they usually didn't bother you.
Okay.
Yeah, they would come in every now and then. They would search, and when you're in that type of high power, they really don't search your cells.
Where did you get the bag from?
From one of the trustees, is what they call it, trustee, and give
Okay.
you anything you want. That's how when I was in there too. What I remember when I was in county one time. This happened to me when I was in court. I was all chained up. It was early on, and the police officer, tripped me on purpose. And I got up and I knocked him back with my shoulder, and he went flying. And then they tried to charge me with a crime there. But it was thank God that Johnny Cochran was sitting there and watched the whole thing, watched what he did. And he goes, no, then I'm going to file, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, okay, then we'll let it go. So what they did to me when I got back, they were mad at me. They took me and put me way down deep way down deep into some cells that were way down below. And they called those disciplinary cells. And that's when they gave you disciplinary food. So what they would do was they'd blend all your food together and bake it. Bake it together.
So technically they were giving you all the nutritional whatever.
But it was just disgusting, nasty. It was all baked together. So I survived on apples. That's why I hate apples to this very day. I like applesauce, but I don't like, or apple pie, but won't eat just a regular apple anymore.
Because that's all you got.
Yeah, that's all. I had to survive on apples. I couldn't eat that thing they made.
How long was that?
That was for like a month. So, but how I got out of there, because Johnny Cochran they can lose you in the system. And that's what they did. They had lost me in the system. So how I finally got out was a trustee was down there, bringing me my food, and I gave him a kite and told him to call my lawyer and tell him exactly where I am. And when they did that, I was up the very next day.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah. I was down there for a month, though, and it's like hardly no lights or anything. You can't see anything down there.
How long did that batch of Pruno take to get good?
Well, like a week and a half, yeah.
Would you just drink it, or would you sell it, or?
No, you drank it, or you sold it. Yeah, somebody wanted to drink, you give them some, so.
And you just have to drink it out of the bag?
No, you had cups and stuff. You didn't drink it.
Okay, I mean, I don't
you
know.
had plastic
I've never
cups.
been there.
You had plastic cups. You should
Plastic
go
cups.
visit.
And we should go visit.
Not me. I ain't going to visit. You can go visit.
All right, let's see.
You should go hang out in a cell for one night and see what it's like. See if you can deal with it.
So did you stay connected? That's one of the questions. How did you stay connected with family and friends on the outside? But you said you didn't.
In county jail, you got visits regularly. And I took the beginning, I took the visits. But I didn't realize the damage it was doing to me emotionally. So I got a lot of visits then,
Yeah. Could you write letters, though?
Yeah, you can write letters and receive letters and all that kind of stuff. But it was like once I got out, and I had relapsed again, and I finally got sober, and I came back, I realized it was so damaging emotionally having people come visit you and leaving. Because when I was in there, Kim Fields came to see me, Conrad Bain came to see me. My own father never came to see me, but everyone else did.
Wow.
Yeah, he never came to see me in there. Maybe he realized it was his fault, so that's why maybe he didn't want to come see me.
So what is a typical day like? And you can compare prison versus county. Like, what would have
County, a
been
typical
like?
day is I was in my cell 23 hours a day. I get out 1 hour on the freeway to take a shower or change the channel.
So the 23 hours you were just
It was brutal. And then when I got to the prison for the 90-day observation, when I was put in that cell, I was like, no, I wanted to see the warden. I said, no, you got to get me out of here. I'm not staying in here. He goes, well, we can't put you in here. I go, yeah, you can. I have a reputation. I'll be fine.
In the county, the 1 hour was the hour when you got to be out there with the TV, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But in this place, it wasn't even an hour you were allowed out. You were allowed, a few minutes. 15 minutes to take a shower and then back in your cell.
Oh,
and
so
I was
that
like, I ain't
been
doing that. I was like,
brutal.
no way, yeah. So I got put into a dorm situation where you were in there with like 100 inmates.
So when you're in like the dorm thing, do you still have your own space where you're locked away from somebody else, or you're just
there's beds everywhere. and you have a bunkie up top of you.
Kind of like
know.
we see in the movies for like a boot camp situation where there's just a bunch of bunk beds.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Did fights break?
Fights would break out, but you had to have someone watching your back. Like I said, because of what that guy had said, people knew not to. He was a lifer, by the way.
The one that said he was your brother.
Yeah, he was a lifer, so he was never getting out. So
Did he say your brother, your cousin, or
my brother. His last name was Bridges, so he said he was my brother. So I was like, Mom, missed you, But that was God. God protected me in every single situation. He protected me with the psychiatrist letter they gave me. And then I'll tell you what was interesting before I go ahead. Ask another question. I can tell you before I got out what happened to me before I got out.
Okay. I just going to say, is it as boring as it seems, or are there surprises that...
No, prison is not boring. It's crazy. It's stuff to watch.
It's just like an alternate
You have to watch
reality.
constantly. Never let anybody get too messed behind you. You got to watch that. You got to make sure you're watching everyone. You have to have a swivel head, constantly watching people, because you don't know what people are going to do. And like I said, if a fight broke out between two different races, you're going to have to take sides, which means you have to fall with your race. Because if you don't fall with your race, then they'll give you up to another race, and you don't want that to happen. So you fall with your race.
That is so interesting so if you had been in the isolation, it was boring. It was almost unbearable.
Yeah.
But if by contrast, when you're out in like the general population type stuff, it's like, no, there's no time to be boring. You're so busy protecting yourself.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Constantly.
Oh, yeah. But that's why I told you I'm so much on respect, because that's what that whole thing is involved with. It's just respect.
What do you think is a big misconception people have about prison or people that have been there?
Well, it is punishment, but what you're doing is you're making the criminal, to me, more angry. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
You're locking him up, and you're making, when he gets out, most of them are like, I'm going to go back, I'm going to get these people.
So you're going, kind of going back to what you said, that you wish there was more rehabilitation, because it was really about honing their skills. Now they're better at observing. They've picked up a lot of...
They pick up stuff, but then the question is always going to be, is it really teaching you how to be a better criminal? Because the people in there are also arrested.
That's true.
So that's the question.
Good point, right? How do you think your time in prison changed your perspective on life? We talked about the respect thing that you've carried with you, but what else?
It made me to where I know I don't ever want to go back, and I always avoid those situations. But
what did you think it was going to be like? Is it like how you thought it would be?
Oh yeah, probably worse than what I thought it was going to be. But it's like it's a dangerous place. It's like, to me, it's like being out at midnight and you're on the streets walking around.
But all the time.
24/7. You don't ever have a time to relax. Even when you're sleeping, you're all kind of sleeping. You're kind of keeping your eyes open.
Especially in that dorm situation where you're not really locked away.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
And you're constantly watching people, seeing what people are doing, seeing what people are done. That's why you usually fall with people that you can defend each other, so that, if you're not sleeping, someone's going to watch your back for you.
And you were supposed to be there for 3 months, but you said you ended up actually being there like 6 or 7 months.
Yeah, because they couldn't get me out in time. But,
which I remember when you first told me that, I thought that was surprising, because I would have thought it'd be like clockwork, like down to the minute of like, okay, I came in.
There's so many people.
Exactly.
There's so many people in there that, there's only enough time in courts. They don't have, millions of courts. There's only very few courts. The courts.
But do the courts really have to, like, if your sentence was for 3 months, did the courts really get involved with the release time?
It was 3 months, but still getting released it's a process, a long and timely
It's like,
process.
well, why didn't they start the process in time to get you out at 3 month mark?
That's not how it works.
See, and that's shocking to me, because I would be like, come on, guys, let's get the program
doesn't
going.
work like that. But I knew when I was getting out, and I knew the day, because my lawyer contacted me and told me, Johnny Cochran contacted me and told me I was getting out. Like, when I was getting out the next day, he contacted me and said, you're getting out tomorrow. And I was like, okay. So this is what happened to me. I was getting out the next day, and I knew I was. Now, the guards, if they get pissed at you or don't like you, they can write you what they call a 115. The ordinary person can't, if they get a 115, they'll end up stuck in there until they go through the disciplinary thing, whatever has to happen. You may get like 90 more days or whatever.
So it's like kind of like a pink, like writing to the principal. It's a bad.
So I was walking across the grass, which in the morning for my job, I didn't see any sign that says don't walk on the grass. And then this police officer comes up to me and goes, get off the effing grass, you stupid, and call me the N-word. I'm like, shut up, you bitch. And she was like, that's it, blah, blah, blah.
Was she white?
No.
She was black, but
I think she was Hispanic, I think.
Oh, okay.
But so she grabbed me, And they grabbed me, they handcuffed me, and then they were like, oh, we're going to get you, blah, blah, blah. We're going to write you up for 115. You're not getting out of here. You don't talk to blah, blah, blah. And then all the officers were against me that liked me in there. They were against me then. And I remember, this is how cocky I was back then. I knew I was getting out, and I knew they couldn't stop it. And I was on my way to the bus. And I turned around, all of them, and they were giving me the dirty eye, like, you'll be back. And I'm like, mm-mm. I said, you know what a hassa is? I said, it's a pig that don't fly straight. I said, but I never turned you. I did a Tony Montana line and got on the bus, and they were like pissed at me. And they were like, you'll be back. But I ain't never been back. That's been over 30-something years. 32 years I ain't been back.
Wait, what did you say? There's some reference in there.
I said, you know what a hassa is, Frank?
A hoss?
Hassa.
A hossa.
It's in the movie Scarface.
Oh.
You know what a hassa is, Frank? And that's what Tony Montana says to Frank. You know what a hassa is, Frank? He goes, it's a pig that don't fly straight. I never turned you, Frank. That's what he said. So I said that to them. And they were pissed. They were giving me the evil eye. And the girls in there, and I was like, bye.
So did the 115 not come to fruition because some of the other guards?
The 115 wasn't going to be able to stop me.
Yeah.
I wasn't there serving a real sentence.
Okay.
So it wasn't going to stop me.
So it didn't matter.
No. I knew I was
Do you
out.
think that she was coming at you on purpose to try to get you to stay longer, or she was just
being mean, being mean, being mean and nasty. Because there was no signs that said don't walk across the grass. I didn't see no sign that said that.
So, what was the first thing you did when you got out? Do you remember?
I had a steak.
A real steak from where?
Where did I go to? I don't know. I went to some steakhouse. I just remember my mom took me to some steakhouse.
Nice.
So
had a big.
But I went back to sober living. I went back to sober living.
Where was that sober living house?
It was at Brotman Medical Center. They had houses right next to the hospital, and that's where.
What part of LA is that in?
Culver City.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the place. Culver City was the place where. Remember, I told you when we got there to go. Oh, we don't have any houses for you anymore. When we had the Afros, there's that place. Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you handle that? I imagine there was a lot of stigma, a lot of flack for you as you were coming back into life? Or?
No, it really wasn't. But it's just a huge adjustment again.
So maybe the sober living was kind of the right approach, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, it was where I had to go to because I was determined to stay sober. I was determined. So I know that this was the only way to go about it. My sponsor had told me in the very beginning that I needed to go to sober living, and I did it. I did what he told me to do. It was time that I started listening to people and doing what I needed to do. And I went, and I was like, that's it. I'm going here. I went back, and it was great. Of course, I sought out some chicks, of course, being locked away for a free time, I was lonely.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Was it hard to find a job or work or anything?
No, I ended up getting a job at a treatment center. I ended up becoming a chemical dependency tech. And I had a job, and I started working for sober living, and
you technically didn't have a conviction on your record,
I had
so that
conviction,
helped because I think that is a problem for a lot of people coming out of prison, right?
I don't have any felony convictions on my record, nothing like that. So everything else has dropped off by now. So because they're all misdemeanors fall off after a certain amount of years. So
all right,
yeah.
Well, I think you did pretty good, babe. That was was that intense? Did it feel intense?
Well, it's not intense. It's just that you know where you don't want to go.
Yeah.
And I tell people to this very day, don't commit no crimes with me because I will be pointing you out. That's him. I saw him. I'm not going to jail for anybody. I'm not going. If I'm going to go to jail, it'd be because I did it to you. But I'm not going to jail for anybody else. That's
you don't
crazy.
want to go back.
No, it's not a place you want to go to. It's not a place you want to visit or even hang out. And that's and the sad part about it is, like I said, if it was more reform in these prisons. The problem in our country are criminals reoffend over and over again. And it seems to me that first-time offenders get the harsher sentence than reoffenders. I don't know why that is. I can't figure that out. So,
well, if we did not cover a question that you have, a burning question about what it's like in prison, please write in. You can go to dangpodcast.com.
That's right.
Share questions.
Yes.
And if we get enough of them, maybe we'll do a follow-up. But all right.
Thank you for being a dang. Please subscribe. Check us out. We're having a lot of fun here. We're doing a great podcast that everyone will enjoy.
And share this episode with anyone you would also like to have stay out of prison.
Yes, stay out of prison and county jail and don't get in trouble. Trust me.
Dang.
All right, dang.
Okay.
This podcast is produced by my wife, Betty Jo Bridges, in collaboration with Pop Populi, and edited by our daughter, Adelie Ann.
She is also the musician responsible for our theme music, so go check out Adelie Ann wherever you stream your music.
Have a question or topic you want us to cover? Send us your suggestions at dangpodcast.com.
If you would do me a quick favor, please subscribe or rate our podcast to make it easier for others to find. Have a great week.
I'm running on nothing but faith. There's things far too great that I want to accomplish.